Welcome back to the lunch table, Food for Thought. I'm Nico Blitz. Make sure you hit that subscribe button just right down there. Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio app, Track Life Radio. You can find my face or my voice on those platforms. My next guest, he just recently signed to Arista Records, who hold,
Arista.
Yeah. Damn, I already fucked that up. Arista Records.
Yeah.
Has acts like Aretha Franklin, Usher, Whitney Houston. He's currently on tour with Elhae, one of the dopest R&B singers out right now, coming from the underground. He comes from New Jersey, and he was just actually back home in my Bay Area and signed his first pair of titties. He goes by the name of NBDY. What's poppin', man?
What's good, man?
How's life?
Life is great, bro. I can't complain at all. I said I just signed my first titty in San Francisco, so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were you even prepped for that moment?
Nah, it was just... I was lit already. Like, we were having drinks and stuff, so she just came up and she was like, "Can you sign my titty?" And I was like, "Sure."
That's hella funny.
She was like, I've never done it before, and I've always wanted someone to do it. I'm like, I've never done it before either, so let's do it.
So it was a good like first moment for the both of you, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Was she one of those people in the crowd who was like singing all the words to your song, or she was just kind of?
I don't even think she knew who I was. But by the end of the end of the show, she was well aware.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
So are we gonna go by NBDY throughout the whole thing?
Yes.
All right, cool, man. Sounds good. So growing up in New Jersey, man, what was that like for you?
Growing up in New Jersey, it was different, very different from out here. I grew up in an urban neighborhood. So Essex County, this is usually where I claim. I moved around a lot as a kid, so I never really had like one place that I could like really call home. But I got a lot of my friends and everything from Orange, New Jersey, and growing up was it was different. I have a very musical family. My mom and my pops both sing. I got like 4 other siblings on my mom's side. So the house was always booming, always busy. Always, and never a dull moment. Never a dull moment.
It's kind of crazy because I have an auntie who lives in New Jersey, and when I went to New York, maybe like 3-4 years ago, we ended up taking the bridge just to get to Jersey and whatnot, and it just seemed like a whole new world because my auntie actually lived on a farm.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's like that out there. Like
yeah?
Some parts it's really weird. Like some parts it's like a city, and then other parts it's kind of like you're in like the west somewhere, and then you go too far south, and then you're in like green fields and farms and shit.
But then was your area more of the farmland or?
No. I was in like the hood.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So then why was you and your family like moving around so much when you were younger?
Just basic product of, urban communities, unable to really get ahead. My mother always thought the better opportunity was somewhere else for us, and we just moved around a lot. I went to maybe 10 different schools between
10 schools?
Yeah, between like kindergarten and high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But then
I got kicked out of one of my schools though.
Why'd you get kicked out?
Because I was just a badass kid.
At what grade?
I think it was 6th grade. No, 7th grade it was. 7th
Hella
grade.
young.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I don't know, man. I would do anything. I would just start fucking with people. I would start make fun of the teachers. And I made teachers cry.
You made teachers cry?
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that as a 6th grader, bro.
I did it.
So then moving around between 10 schools, how do you even acquire a set group of friends?
You don't. I never really had many friends growing up. Every time I would get close with friends, it was like we move away and then I'd never see them again.
Damn.
Yeah. So some people as I got older, I kind of came back into my life and everything as we all grew up and stuff. Ro, actually, he's probably one of my longest friends that I've had.
Shout out Ro, man.
I've known him since. So when I got kicked out of school, I was living in Irvington. I was going to Union Middle, and then we moved to Orange, and then that's when I had met Rocard. He plays guitar. He was an artist in himself, and we kind of always just stayed in the music scene together and shit.
So did you and Ro kind of link on some music shit? Or was it?
Yeah, that's literally how we first got together. We got together because I was in the choir at the time, and the choir director really loved me a lot. So he was like, "Oh, you're my golden child." And there was this other teacher named Mr. Christian who passed, God rest his soul. he had a guitar club, and Ro was in the guitar club. So basically, like I was kind of like the kid that everybody would, like the teachers would want to, use to kind of get in the good favors with the administrators and shit.
Got you.
Yeah, so Mr. Christian ended up recruiting me and pulling me into the guitar club because he wanted a singer for their formal or something, one of their concerts that they were doing. And him and my choir director went back and forth for a minute because he was like, "Nah, you're not gonna use him. It's my kid."
Damn, already claiming.
Yeah. But that's how me and Ro basically met.
Yeah. And were you and Ro like making music at that time, or it was just like strictly what you guys were doing through school?
Nah, we were just being ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we really didn't start hanging out a lot until we got into high school. Like later on in high school. And we started doing like, a lot of performing arts things together. And then he'd have little showcases and little events around the town, and then everybody would group up after school and we'd all go support and shit.
And would you perform like around town too?
Nah, I wouldn't perform. I was mad shy.
Really?
I wouldn't perform anywhere. Yeah. Nah,
Damn.
The only way you'd catch me is if I was doing like a show at school or something like that.
But I mean, considering you were even in choir too, I'm surprised you weren't already accustomed to performing in front of crowds.
Bro, because like I said, I got a musical family, man. I got a big ass family, and they all do music. So I always felt like I wasn't like as good as them, and I always felt like I had to level up. So I was like, I was just the one to kind of always fall back and just be like, when I get there, then I flex.
So considering that it seems like your entire family has had like an entire music history, right? Like I read that like your grandfather was doing stuff. Your dad actually signed to Sony too after he met up with Wyclef Jean.
Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays we live in this day and age where entering the entertainment industry, like the music scene, isn't always the route that parents want their children to go in.
Right.
But considering that your family is already like musically inclined, did you feel like you were kind of like forced into music in a way?
Nah, not at all. So the thing about where I come from, not many people come out successful. So I couldn't go to college. I couldn't, music definitely wasn't my first choice. But even my parents, they were saying, like, you're gonna go to college. Like, what are you gonna do in college and this and that? And like they told me like, music is not. It's not gonna pay the bills. Like, and I've seen them. I've seen them
even
struggle.
they told you music wasn't even the thing to do.
Yeah, they said, but like they never told me not to do it. They always supported me 100% and whatever. But what made me do it was the fact that this was my only way out of the hood. This was my only way out to be successful and to become something greater than what this fucking system would let me. Because I couldn't go to college. I was trying to claim independent, but because I'm under 25, I couldn't apply for financial aid. I didn't have any savings. I didn't have no family to send me money to help me get into school and stuff like that. So the music presented itself at the right time, and I kind of just went with that, and it worked for me.
When was that moment when it presented to you at the right time?
I was 17, and I was just about to graduate from high school, and I started posting videos up on YouTube. I would just post stuff on YouTube just to just to bullshit me and my little sister. We post videos just playing around. And then my manager found one of the videos that I sang on, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm doing a project. I would love for you to be involved in it." And I was like, "Shit."
Were you singing like a cover or like your own shit at that time?
It was a cover.
To what?
It was a cover.
He's like, I don't want people searching this shit up right now.
It was a cover.
Okay.
And actually that's how I started to really like gain momentum and gain a lot of like build up my confidence and everything as an artist, and I delved more into songwriting and everything. I started doing covers on YouTube. So once we got involved together, we started just doing that a whole lot more, and we started a project called the Chris Aaron Project, and that was involved one of my other homies from up in Canada. And yeah, man. So we did that for a couple of years, and I learned a lot of things about the industry from that, and I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about like if you're gonna do this, what it is that you need to how you need to come, basically. Like this is how.
Why don't you share some of these secrets that you learned at the age of 17? Because
it's
a lot
not
of people,
secret, man.
Bro, because I'm telling you, bro, a lot of people
taught me everything, bro.
Like what?
The internet taught me everything I know, man. Just about. Like
Well, people are gonna be looking on the internet just to watch this video.
True.
What were you learning at 17?
Internet. So at 17, like, my music teacher at the time, my mentor, David Milnes, he was a graduate from Berkeley, so he always like would coach me about writing and all these different types of things, and tell me about his famous friends and all those different types of things. But he never actually told me like about marketing. He
Yeah.
never taught me about, you know, how to market yourself and how to be an actual artist. Like he taught me about singing. He taught me about, you know, writing and like the technicalities of it. But when it got into, you know, the nitty gritty, I'm like on how to present yourself. That's what I learned from doing the whole YouTube thing with my manager and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how did you market yourself?
I'm sorry. This might be an emergency. Hold on. It's not. So how I marketed myself?
Yeah, how did you market yourself?
As NBDY or before NBDY?
Prior to that.
Prior to NBDY, we kind of just went on a limb, you know. We were just ourselves, you know. We just got in front of the camera and did whatever it was, and then I'm a very, very analytical person, so I would just watch what we did, and I would just I would fix it from there, trial and error. You know, a lot of people want to get into it and just do it right from the jump, but like it's never gonna happen like that.
Well,
it's never.
I think the landscape of what's happening right now, because we see a lot of like 17, 18-year-olds pop off.
Yeah.
So then you think about like, well, how did they do that? Oh, they are currently just doing this, and that.
Yeah.
But nobody really sees that. Well, maybe you didn't even recognize that they've been doing this for at least a year.
Yeah, and even if they haven't been doing it for at least a year, social media is really what it is. Like Lil Pump, X, and all of them, like they understood social media. They know social media, like before the music, because like they weren't into music. Like they weren't like musicians. They just decided they wanted to do it and started fucking rapping. But they knew how to market themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really what it comes down to. It's just like knowing how to market yourself to your audience. Like a whole bunch of wild kids, you know what they like, you know what they're gonna listen to. So I feel like that's why it worked out so well for them. And then as they started working for them, they just didn't stop. And as they continued, they just got better and better. And now look at where they at.
I guess the only caveat to that is really like how far can you really upkeep that momentum?
Yeah.
Like if you got popping off one thing, right? How long can you prolong that? For example, Lil Nas X, who came out with that Old Town Road, right?
Yeah.
Like, is he just gonna keep on coming out with country trap bangers because he can't revert back to what he was doing before? You know.
I think he can. I think it all depends on how well he does it. You know, people will try to say you can and can't do things. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because niggas told me I couldn't do it. So, you know, I came back from the whole Chris Aaron thing, and I did it, and I'm doing music in the way that I wanted to, so I don't see why Lil Nas can't.
And Chris Aaron was the first moniker that you were going by?
It was the Chris Aaron project. It was a duo.
Okay, got you. So then, so that was a duo. So you were in a group before?
Yeah, with my homie from Canada.
Okay, so then how come that group is no longer available to the world per se?
It's just because we were young. You know, we were both fresh out of high school. We didn't really know who we were at the time. We were still trying to find ourselves, and you know, as time went on, we got older, and our wants and our needs just changed. Like, you know, creatively, and then, you know, he's from Canada, I'm from Jersey. It's two different cultures, so we just decided that was what was best.
And you were over here from New Jersey, like traveling back and forth?
He was traveling back and forth from
crazy.
Canada to Jersey, yeah. And we'd be like doing shows, and like we'd come out here, record, and we'd be like just trying to like get in anywhere we could get in, basically. Like my manager would rent a car or take his car, and we'd drive 6 hours to like Chicago just to do like a party here, or, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we was grinding, man. We was grinding.
Was it all worth it because of all that travel time? And
yeah, I think it was worth it because it's prepared me for everything that I'm doing now. Like now, I'm seasoned enough to where, you know, I'm not going through the motions of, gotta wake up early. We gotta be in a car for 8 hours. Gotta go to this airport now. Like, nah, I've been doing it, so like I'm cool. Like I know how to handle it now.
And you know, going back to that idea of people just kind of see like that skip in which they see somebody like already at the top, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to go through that grit and grind of traveling 6 hours to Chicago and working with somebody who's like in a different country per se, just to like get some shit cracking. If you don't go through that type of shit, I don't think you'll ever actually feel what success feels like.
Right. You'll never understand what that feels like if you're afraid of fear, if you're afraid of failure. Like you really just gotta take a leap of faith sometimes and just go for it, man. Like There's really no other way for me to say it. Like Gary Vee be saying all the time. He was like,
That's
yo,
what I'm
fuck all that
saying.
shit. You know, you just be like, yo, there's no excuse. There's literally no excuse. Like if you want to do something, if you want to go to New York City and you want to become a rapper, you may not get on immediately, but like you gotta start putting in the footwork to like, you know, build a foundation off of something.
Well, yeah.
Something.
I mean, it's as easy as trying to figure out where the hot spot networking spots are.
Mm.
And then on top of that, like, you don't even have to present yourself as like, oh, I'm a singer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm a rapper. Oh, I'm a blah, blah, blah. But I feel like everybody should present themselves as someone who is like willing to learn. Like, hey, like, you know, I have some interest in being like a singer, or I have interest in being like an engineer. How can I like just watch you do your work? But then people don't tend to do that. People just want to get straight to the, I'm a rapper. This is what I do. I need all the rapper credentials. I need my fucking writer.
Yeah. I don't do that. That's not what I did. Some people do that, but that's not what I do. That's not what I did at all.
Well, I mean, considering you were like doing your work like in the choir, you know, initially, because even all of that kind of leads up to everything too.
Yeah. Yeah, my grandfather was a jazz musician, so like when I got to high school, like that was the first time that I really got a chance to expand and learn more about music. Like my mentor, he went to Berklee College of Music for jazz and everything, and taught me a lot about you know ear training and like relative pitch, perfect pitch, and I learned in and out about music theory, and then I ended up picking up guitar. I taught myself how to play the guitar, and he taught me piano and everything too. So yeah, I learned a lot of my creative foundation early on.
Yeah. Did you ever have like jam sessions with your family?
Yeah, actually, we would. Well, not jam sessions. So my family, every time we would have I got a real big family, so every time we have cookouts, it's
lit.
It's lit. It's lit. It's like 50 niggas in the house, basically. But yeah. So my mom had like a sound system and everything, like a legit sound system with the mics and everything in the living room, and we'd all just take turns going up there singing, have like a little talent show. Some of my cousins would be dancing. My little sisters would get up there together and start singing together. My mom used to be in a girl group with my other aunts and stuff, so like they would all come together, and then we would just be sitting around and they'll be singing, you know, all these old songs and shit. Yeah,
that's insane, man.
Yeah, that's cool. And then in high school too, we had the same thing. We had actual jam sessions, so like there would be people who come and play on the piano, or my music teacher would be playing. And, you know, we have singers just scatting and just taking turns going around, just freestyling, doing whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It was a real dope creative environment.
Well, yeah, and I feel like those creative environments aren't even pushed on big stages anymore. Nah. Because you know what I mean? Like
everything is so technical now. Everybody wants to try to be so technical, but the best music comes from just being in the moment. It's all about momentum. Like, as a creative and an artist, there's no right or no wrong to your method. You know, whatever works for you is what works for you. Like, whatever gets you in the vibe, you have to just expand on that. Once you're in that vibe where that momentum is, you just basically expand and go with it for as long as you can, you know, until it runs out.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what it is.
But then when it comes to live performances, and then there's like fucking time restrictions, and like you're opening for somebody, so then they need their time accompanied for. It's kind of like, I guess in a sense, you have to be creative in such like a limited time. Yeah. In that sense. Yeah,
that's a bit of a headache. Kind of a headache when you don't have a band or anything. I perform it like, you know, my tracks and stuff. But I was able to get a band together and pre-program pre-program some of my tracks and everything, so that it's, you know, a fluid motion through the show.
And you got what, like a drummer, pianist, guitarist? Like what do you have that encapsulates your full band?
I have a drummer, pianist, and a guitarist.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I just like knocked everything out the water with that.
But just not on the tour with me. Just you know, but just regular, like when I do my own shows, like I have a drummer, pianist, and a guitarist, bassist occasionally. And Roby right there with me most of the time.
That's what's up, man. So then, speaking of the tour, like, how did you end up linking with Elhae for this tour?
So crazy story. I mean, well, really not too crazy, but social media, like Instagram. You know, Instagram.
That's like your answer to everything so far, man. Social media, YouTube.
Yo, we are in the age. This is the age of technology and information, man. IT is probably one of the most, like, the highest grossing jobs that you can have coming out of school.
Shout out to the Bay Area.
Man, it's just like, he hit me up on Instagram a while ago. He was like, "Yo, I fuck with your music," and I was like, "What?" I'm like, "It's crazy, bro. I fuck with your music. Like, You know, before I started doing NBDY, like Needs was the first song that I heard of.
Oh wow.
By Elhae. And for a minute, I didn't know who it was. It just kept coming up on my daily mix. And one day I just finally saved it, and I was like, yo, who is this guy? And I listened to all his music, and I was like, bruh, like, yo, this dude caps on every fucking thing that I want to talk about, like, cause like no other artist was doing what he was doing, or writing how he was writing at the time. Everybody wanted to be like the Chris Browns and the Trey Songz, and no shade to none of them, but that just wasn't what I wanted to do, In R&B there was that void, and Elhae picked up that void. So when he hit me up, I was just like, yeah, hell, bro. Fuck, I gave him my number. He didn't respond back to me after I sent my number. I was like, shit, I probably shouldn't have gave him my number. Damn. But yeah, he hit me up a few months later, and he was just like, yo, we getting on this tour or what? And I'm like, what? I'm like, hell yeah. Dude.
Where were you when you got that call from him?
I don't know.
About the tour.
I don't even know. My manager had actually, so I guess his team and his booking agent had hit up my management first before I knew about it. And then, I don't know, where was I? Oh, it was? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened, yeah.
And you're like, fuck everything I got going for the next couple of weeks, for the months. I'm going on this fucking tour.
I was just like, in the back of my mind, I was just like, all right, this is lit. But then at the front, I was like, I don't know if it's going to really happen,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I was like,
4 days before the tour started.
But I was still kind of skeptical. I was like, all right, it's not confirmed yet. I'll know when I'm there. Because a lot of people like to tell you shit, and then, shit
just back out.
Never comes through, never falls through. So I tried to get my hopes up with expectations. But when they told me that, I was in the back of my mind, I was like, yo, I'm going on tour right now. It was like the perfect moment. Man, we got the EP coming out, and like we have a whole bunch of shit we're trying to get ready. I'm like, this would be perfect. So we did what we had to do.
So then you had 4 days to essentially prep for this tour.
Yes, sir.
That is crazy. Wait, when did the tour start?
April 28th.
Fuck, like barely even a month ago.
Yeah, we found out, the 24th, 23rd.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So then did you even have like anything, did you even have like a set list of what you were going to do, or you kind of just like scrambled within those 4 days to come up with the best thing possible?
Well, I always try to have a set ready, like a good 15, 20-minute set. So we basically just went off of our previous set and just, made some alterations and added a few new songs, added two or three new songs, and yeah, it was cool.
And the EP at this point, is it already done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's done.
So you were able to
done, bro.
Oh shit! How long's that been done for?
For a minute.
Because then shit, bro. Like I was on your Spotify. I was like, okay, that's a single. That's also a single. Damn, bro. Every single one of these things have artwork that are different. They're all singles.
Yeah, it's all singles. I just released all singles so far. So I still haven't released a full EP. But I wrote the EP like last year, a majority of the EP last year, and then I ended up getting signed by Arista. So that kind of was just a whole process in itself, just between understanding the new team and getting them to know NBDY and the branding and everything, and then the marketing. It's
kind of crazy to me how you got signed without having a project or let alone like an EP out. Like you were just attracting attention based all off singles.
Yeah. Is this thing coming off still? All right. I need to iron this fucking.
Are you feeling it on the side of your arm?
Nah, I saw it, and now that I saw it, I can't unsee it. And it's fucking with me. But anyway, what was your question again?
But it's kind of crazy to think about how you got signed without having any sort of project out.
Yeah. I thought that was crazy too. That was also something that I didn't think was gonna happen. Like, even after we had the meeting with David, I was like, all right, cool. If they like me, all right, we'll see what happens. And then, a couple of weeks went by and I didn't hear nothing. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna just keep on going forward, so we can release this EP and everything.
How'd they even find you?
It was through the grapevine, man. Through word of mouth. I think one of my friends, KJ from New York, actually told David about me. And KJ found out about me through Instagram, and exactly, it's crazy. So social media, but there was also a lot of other talk, about me between other labels and everything, and David was under the impression that I was about to go with someone else, And then he was just like, yo, we got to meet immediately. And everything happened it just happened so perfectly, bro. Because, like, I wasn't looking for a label. Like, the label situation wasn't my ideal plan. Like, I planned on doing it independent. But the moment just seemed right. Like, everything was starting to pick up at a faster pace. And literally, it was just me and my manager, like, out of the basement. Nobody else a part of our team. And we needed the extra hands on board. So that's why we went along with it. And I'm glad we did, because I don't know where I'll be right now if I didn't.
Well, you're here right now in California. Let's just say that.
Exactly. I don't know if I'll be on tour with LA right now, man. Definitely. Man.
So then your first day of tour, right? Like, do you get like a weird feeling, because first of all, it's not your tour, and you're in I'm assuming you're in like a different city at this point, performing in front of people who aren't necessarily there for you.
Well, I always have that impression or that understanding. Like, no matter what I do, I always assume that nobody's gonna know who I am, because I'm not a fucking A-list artist. I'm not super famous or anything like that. So I just go in as humbly as I can, and I just be like, I just show what I have to offer. I'm not the type of person to walk into the room and be like, hey, I'm this person. This is what I do. This is what I do. I like to chill. I like to catch a vibe, and if the vibe is there, then I'll open up. I'm very, very like reserved, very reserved. And when it's time for me to get on the stage, I just flip the switch and I do what I gotta do.
So what have you learned on tour so far? Let's say about yourself, and how you can improve your performance aspect.
For myself, like, I always try to give more than what I need to give. I always try to overcompensate, because like I said, I don't expect people to know who I am, so I really want to give the best first impression as I can when I'm on a stage. But one thing that I've learned is that, less is more. And that's something that I've always understood. But, in this sense, because it's all new, I'm kind of just like, it's still like trial and error. I'm just learning. So I'm learning to pace myself a lot more, a lot better. And then with that also comes with just paying attention to all the other elements that go along with the show. So outside of just performing, you need to have good communication with the sound person, and then also, I have to give cues to my manager at some parts during the show just so he knows. And pacing myself allows me to own what I know and own the show, and still pay attention to everybody else, and make, just in case anything goes wrong, just so I can communicate it effectively.
Yeah, because if you, NBDY, is not communicating with any of those people, there can be one thing that fucks up, but then to the crowd, it looks like it was your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everything always comes down on the artist.
Because you're the fucking face.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good. So then, considering you've just been releasing single after single after single, what was delaying the process of you putting out your first EP?
Like I said, it was just me getting to the new team to understand, who I was, me understanding who they are, and it was more so us getting to know each other and just really, really living with the music, and just trying to imagine how people would receive it. The best way for people to receive it. So like the marketing and everything, that was probably the longest process, because I'm very, very I like to say I'm a perfectionist of sorts. So, I could be very not happy with things. If I feel like it's not there, it's not there, you got to go back to the drawing board and work on it again.
Low key, like, that idea of perfection can be a good thing and a bad thing. Yeah. Because one of my favorite artists, he's out in Kansas, his name's XV, and he hasn't released music for over like 10 years now, right? And when I was able to speak to him on this platform, he was saying that he was just so wrapped up in his head because he was trying to get like that perfect record or like that perfect song. And I'm just like, bro, like there's no such thing as creating the perfect song, because perfection is just based all off perception. And the more you try to acquire that, the more you're just not going to get that. And it might actually just delay the process of you being creative or putting something out for other people to enjoy.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's the truth. Like, people have to, for me, when I start getting too much into my head and when it starts to cripple me, that's when I fall back. with my perfectionism. Once it becomes to where I feel like I can't make a decision because I have so many great ideas, then that means that I'm just being too extra. Because what I have most likely is good enough already, you know. And then there's always the chance to, once as you do something and once as you work on, like I said, trial and error. That's the best way, because that way you're getting content out, and then it may not be as A1 as you want it to be, but you know it's gonna still drive some type of attention. It's gonna still drive some type of traction, and you learn from that. You can't be married to your work. Like it's great to have appreciation and love, you know, the songs that you create, but for me, writing is like a diary. As soon as I write something, I'm over it. Like, I'm over it. I try not to get too married to it, because when I find myself getting married to my music, that's when I find myself putting me more in a box.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'm starting to think, all right, is it good enough, or is this is better than the other song? It's not better than this. Like, Like, nah. I just try to keep going.
Because then also at some point, once you listen to a song over and over again, and it's your song, like in a sense, you may or may not get tired of it too.
Yeah. It took me a minute to get tired of Used To. I love performing it now than I actually like listening to it.
Damn.
Because I've listened to that song probably like 1,000 times. Like, even before it was released, like, I listened to that song, like, because I wrote that song in February of 2017. I wrote that song, and then I released it in September that year. So it was that whole little like 6 months or whatever of me just listening to my own shit, and then finally it being out, and then it's in the ears of other people, and now it's just, you know, it's a part of me now.
So I'm listening to all your songs, right? And it puts me in this space where I feel like I need to like hug my girl type of thing. Shout out to my girl Taylor. She's a couple miles away right now.
And at the shows, actually, my music does that to people. Bro, like every time he's on stage and like I do a certain song, like I walk up to a girl or whatever, all they do is grab their shorties. Grab them real close. And I'd be like, I'm not trying to start no troubles. I don't want no issues, you know. It's just entertainment.
No issues. Yeah, it really is just entertainment, man. Like, nobody give a fuck. Yeah. But like, considering that a lot of your songs surround like relationships and love and all of that, like, where do you stand on the idea of like love and relationships while being in the music industry?
It's hard. It's really difficult because, you know, you doing what you do, you're chasing a dream, you're grinding. So like whoever you're with, if they don't understand what it is that you do, it's gonna be a lot of like battles and things that you're gonna have to just either work through or you're gonna have to move on to the next. You know?
Yeah.
Like for me, it's difficult because on top of me not knowing if the person has the qualities that, or is gonna really truly have the qualities that I'm looking for, or they're just gonna tell me what they want to tell me because of who I am, you know. So like, you know, it's for me. It's just I don't really know who's genuine enough in it. But that could just be me just thinking too much. But like I don't take love lightly. Yeah. Like I'm not the type of nigga that'll be out here just, you know, hooking up with anybody and this and that. Like when I'm invested in somebody, like I'm like 100% in it. Like I'm not.
That's good, man.
Yeah, because I don't like my time being wasted. Yeah. I got too many things I'm trying to do in life, and if you're not on the same page with me or you're not trying to work towards it, then what the fuck are we doing? Like,
and I feel like us as millennials, we kind of use the word love a little bit too lightly, you know? Because I remember when I was a kid, right, and I would be in a relationship, it's like, oh, I love you, you know, like within a week, bruh.
I don't think that I don't think that it's a bad thing that we use love so lightly. I feel like love is a multi-dimensional word. So like love in general, the meaning of love is just the act of caring basically for someone. You can care for someone, you know, but being in love with someone, obviously that's a whole different ball game, you know. So like I think I like the fact that our generation is a little bit more open to love, open to, you know, spreading the positivity. And
really, you think we're more open to love? I feel like people are a little bit more closed right now.
I think we're getting there. People want it, but they're afraid to really go for it. People want to be treated with love. People want, you know, people want to be able to sit across the table from a stranger and not be judged for just how they look, you know, and just really be seen and just loved for being a human being. Like, we want that. Yeah. We want that. And in social media, I see the cry out for it constantly. But you're right. In person, you won't see that. People kind of like really closed off and everything. But as long as you just got to understand that we're all the same.
Yeah.
We are all the same, man.
I think essentially at the end of the day, we all want the exact same thing, but as you said, people just aren't willing to speak up about it. It's kind of like
how to, maybe don't know
that
don't know how
too,
to.
man.
They probably just don't know how to.
But that's why whenever I listen to music like yours, it's kind of like, okay, well, you're giving like a description of like how to talk about these things.
Yeah.
Like, Battlefield, for example, right?
Battlezone,
right?
Yeah.
My bad, man.
Yeah, it's all good.
But when I'm listening to Battlezone, I'm over here thinking like I'm brought back to situations in which, let's say, I'm arguing with my lady, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I feel like I'm right.
Yeah.
And she feels like she's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's kind of like this constant tug of war of like who's right. But that at the end of the day, it's like we don't really need to fight about these type of things. All we really need to do is like over communicate in a sense so we can actually stop fighting. And that was kind of like the idea that I was getting from that. And back to my point, like when I listen to your music, it kind of like sparks those ideas of how to create those conversations when you're with like a significant other.
Yeah, and I didn't honestly, I didn't think that was like there was a void in the I know there's a void in R&B music for it, but like the reason why I write the music that I write is just because of like the people that I grew up listening to and everything. So I felt like that's really what makes you the more vulnerable and the more honest you can be in your songwriting is what makes you a great songwriter to me.
Thank you.
To me. Like I looked up to people like John Mayer. I looked up to people, like amazing songwriters in my opinion. And what made them great is, how fucking like open they are about, their truths. Yeah. And, I just didn't think that people would respond to it the way that they've been. Like my manager would tell you, like I didn't want to put nothing out. I didn't want to put Used To. I didn't want to put anything out. And he kind of just told me he was like, just do it, just trust me.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that can make me do shit, bro. The only man.
Well, it's the reason why people like Usher is so prominent, right? So let's say
that's why Confessions is one of like the best projects.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a residency every Wednesday, right? And every week I play Burn by Usher.
Yeah.
And you know how many people I still see singing that exact same song word for word because of how specific the feeling is.
I felt that shit, man.
You know what I mean? And it's
how old were you when that came out?
Man, I was probably like 15, 16 years old
when it came out.
Yeah.
So
I got the album.
You know a little bit about what he was talking about.
Oh, of course, man.
I don't even know how old I was. I was young as shit though.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't had no business singing half them damn songs.
No, not real. But you know how specific everything is, right? Yeah. And like even So Sick by Neo, right? Yeah. Like you know how prominent the radio was back then, and you can literally
That's
date
the
it.
reason. Neo's he's the reason why I started writing music.
Nah.
Deadass.
Yeah.
So Sick. I heard So Sick, and I was so in love with that song because I had a crush on this girl at the time.
Okay.
And I felt like she would never love me back. I was like, she would never. I feel like she would never like me back. So like I ended up taking that beat and flipping it. Like it put me in my bag so much.
Shit.
I took that beat and I flipped the lyrics and everything and wrote my own little song to it. I'm not gonna sing it for you.
No, it's all good. I wouldn't do that to you, bro.
I'm definitely not gonna do that. Nah. But Neo's a goat, bro. But songs like So Sick, like When You're Mad, fucking even like his song Mirror that he wrote.
I haven't heard Mirror.
And then going back to Tank. Tank is another R&B
legend. Have you heard Neo's song Storytime?
I don't know if I heard Storytime.
It's off one of his more recent albums, and it's classic Neo in the sense of like storytelling, but it's literally a song about him trying to convince his girl to have a threesome.
I think I did hear that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kept on looking at that song like, damn, man. I mean, how much more specific can you get? And then at the end, she's talking about like, oh, well, what if I wanted to have a threesome with another man? I'm like, hey, look, I don't know. That's up to them.
Yeah. then it gets tough right there, right? Because I've had that same thought before. Like if I were to have a threesome, I would have a threesome ideally with two chicks. But
yes.
I'm like, yo, what if she wanted to do the same
If she
thing?
flips the scripts, then us as guys, we're kind of just like, look, I don't know. We good.
We're not gonna do that at all. Nah, we ain't gonna do it at all. No threesomes in this relationship at all.
Amen.
Nah. Because everything is about balance now. Equal like chivalry and all that shit is kind of out the window. We all equals now.
Oh, of course, man. You got to toss salad both ways.
What?
Time out. Time out on that one. All right.
Oh shit.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Hey man, look.
If
I don't know.
If
Equality.
you expect to have your cake and eat it too, then you're gonna have to toss the salad both ways.
Yeah, you're gonna have to toss the salad both ways, man. If you know what I mean.
I don't like salad though. I don't like salad.
Yo. Oh shit.
I don't like salad.
Oh shit. So
that was a tuna salad.
A tuna salad. Oh
salad.
shit! You got me fucked up. We already had it here. We're creeping up.
It was a tuna salad. There was nothing else in that salad at all. All right, we can move on now.
The dressing, the ranch dressing came after. You feel
Lord,
me?
jeez.
All right, we good.
Lord.
So currently on tour right now. Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you, man, and I think I kind of got this idea based off everything you're explaining right now, but I want you to explain it. This idea of being like a lone wolf, and you also have a wolf tattooed on your hand.
Yeah, this is a symbol of strength for me, cause like I said, growing up, I never really had too many friends and couldn't really build relationships effectively. I learned a lot of things on my own. And I live with my mom, but also I was raised by my grandmother. My grandmother's like one of the strongest women that I've known. She's taught me everything that I know about just life in general. And she's always a person who never sugarcoated anything around me, and she always kept it real. And she was very religious, so I get a lot of my morals and my just the way that I am just from her in general. And this just is it's a symbol of just leading, your own life, your own autonomy, your own self-governing, because she went through so many different types of struggles and everything, and what she was able to do for me, after everything that she went through, and then the burdens of my mom and the other siblings and everything, she was able to still take me in. And she was sick, she had illnesses, and
damn, man, she was still taking care of you.
She was still doing it. She would do anything for me. So I use her as an example. And then also my cousin that passed away in 2010. He's more so the force that kind of kept me off the streets. So my cousins, I had cousins and family members who was running the streets and doing what they was doing. But the younger ones, they always would keep us around, because we were all really, really close. Me and my cousins, we brothers and sisters basically. So he would always just be like, yo, you staying in school? Or if you see us out hanging out somewhere, and you'd be like, yo, what the fuck you doing out here? He'll keep us in check. So yeah, man, this is all about dominance and just being strong.
Yeah, and taking care of your own, because nobody else is essentially gonna do it for you, man.
Exactly.
Being a lone wolf too, it obviously has that idea of also being alone. Considering that you've been moving from place to place when you were young, and you kind of never really had a stable home, it sounds like. Do you still feel like you are alone despite having so many people looking up to you and listening to your music?
I would definitely say that it's changed a lot for me, because I'm just a very closed off person by nature sometimes, and one of the things I realized is that by me being closed off, I was blocking myself from a lot of my blessings, and I was also hurting myself more than I was helping myself. So yes, I'm used to being alone, and I love being alone. Especially as an entrepreneur, we need to spend time alone so we can get our shit right. But that the idea that we're alone is not really real, in my head. It's not real, because I have my manager, I got my bros, I have my management and everybody, my friends, who I can just go to, But the hardest thing, I guess, is just telling them how you're feeling and coming out about it and say, this is how I'm feeling right now, because you don't know how they're going to take it, right? But then you understand, the people that are around you because, they love you. They love who you are. They accept you for who you are. And if you're around people who accept you for who you are, then you can come to them and you can just say, even if they can relate, or if they can't relate, just the fact that that's one of your homies, or that's somebody that, that you love, you're this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm going through. And yeah, so I don't think we're all really alone.
Yeah, we're not all truly alone.
I've just started to just come out of that shell of thinking that I'm all alone in my feelings, and this and that, and I'm just trying to be more aware of what gets me to that point. Because then comes the depression, then comes, a whole bunch of other things that, could have been avoided if you would have just put your pride aside and just you really just reached out for help when you needed it.
Yeah. That also goes back to the same idea of just like putting yourself out there in your music, man. And I feel like you being somebody who, may be a little bit more like closed off when it comes to explaining your feelings like in a, two-way conversation. It must help to know that you're able to express yourself like through your music, and that's kind of like your outlet.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't be here, bro, if it wasn't for music. Like, I just wouldn't. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Amen to that, man.
Yeah.
So, last question I'm gonna ask you, man. How did you come up with NBDY?
NBDY is just a reflection of who I consider myself to have always been, but I kind of wear it on my back now, just more so to show people that you don't have to succumb to a label. People telling you who you are, like, who you are, right? And essentially, like, when you walk into a room, like, I don't know anybody in the room. I don't expect anybody to know who I am. So I'm like, I'm just a nobody, And like I said, when it's time for me to do what I got to do, when it's time for me to show my work, then I show it. And, if they still think I'm a nobody after that, then that's on them. But,
yep.
Yeah, but it's more so a double entendre. Yeah, it's a double meaning. So I'm not using it to demean myself or to make myself seem lower than I really am. If it's first off just something to turn heads, because the first thing people are gonna say, like, why you call yourself a nobody? You're somebody. Even if they don't know you, they're gonna say that shit, But it's like, no, real shit. If I walked into a room and I don't know you, you're a nobody. Like,
yeah,
I don't know who you are until you introduce yourself and you tell me who you are. Like,
and as long as you know at the same time that. As long as you know who you are, like, it also, it also doesn't matter what somebody else may or may not think of you.
And I know who I am, and that's why I'm like, you don't have to succumb to the labels, and just you don't have to overthink about how people are gonna perceive you. Just be yourself. Like, that's really what it is, and everything that NBDY is me just being myself, like, just wholeheartedly, the best way that I know how to, and I'm still learning. How to better myself and how to share more of myself with everybody, and just like up my creativity. But yeah.
Amen to that, man.
Yeah.
NBDY, thank you for coming by, man. Go plug your project and everything else you got going on.
Absolutely. So I just dropped my new single, Battle Zone, which is out on all streaming platforms. My EP, Admissions, will be out on May 24th, finally.
Yay!
May 24th, man. So make sure y'all follow me on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, all those things, because when it drop, you want to be the first one to hear it.
Amen to that, man. I'm Nico Blitz. This is The Lunch Table, NBDY. Thank you for coming, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Yay.